Okay guys, before actually starting the video, one little thing. So first of all, before I actually did this video, I thought this is gonna be just a two-parter, and also I thought that this is gonna be the part 3 of the Neon mini-series. But apparently I do it the second part because I think getting the background first is a little more important, and in the last part we'll actually, animate and do like the less detailed kind of stuff. So basically that's kind of about it, and also this video concentrates mostly on image textures and the power of image textures. And before you click away from the video because you think that's not interesting enough, look at the picture behind me. Alright, so this is just image textures alone. I mean, yes, it's the lighting and stuff, of course, but all those PS4 games, all the Funko PoPs, all the books and stuff, all of that is image texture based. Those are just some cubes and planes, and that's kind of about it. You'll see a little more in the video, but basically this is kind of the power of image textures, and I think it's pretty good to know how to use it, and it can bring really good results, especially when it comes to backgrounds and objects that you're actually not going to interact with in your scenes. So please enjoy the video and let us go. Alright guys, so here we are. This is a third part. So basically this was supposed a two-part tutorial basically, but I extended it to 3 parts, and there's a reason for it. There are actually 2 main reasons for it. So in the last one we did use some effects to make droplets out of just textures and using the shader editor, and also to make some particles using the geometry node, as you can see even here right now. So let me actually, and also we learned about decals, and let's actually look at it a little bit. And I think this actually looks pretty cool, but inside our actual, I don't know, let's call it a store or something, it's not a lot. Like, we don't have detail, it's just an empty background, and we don't really want that, do we now? Because, I mean, that looks horrible. So let's actually work around that, shall we? I will teach you today something that really it's not that big of a lesson. It's not like a crazy I don't know, like a crazy lesson, because I'm pretty sure all of you already kind of realized it. But first things first, I will start with a wall, of course, because what is important to have a wall in our room. So let me actually start with that one. Alright, so basically that will do, because we don't need to have too much really. And now we can go about it 2 ways. We can either do like a wood plank wood wall, or like a plain wall that will have a little bit of grains in it, using like a noise texture. And there are, really it's a lot about the design that you wish, but there are ups and downs for both of them. So let's actually see how the simple wall would actually look like, right? Because it's a very simple thing to get right. So what you can do is just drag this, make this a noise, Control T it, so that we give a little more control over it in case we need it. Make this actually 40, so we actually can play with a seed here of the node. So basically this is just a randomizer, let's say it. It doesn't change anything like any actual output, it just randomizes the values. So basically the values you have here, it just like finds other ways to actually use the same values but to get a different result basically. Alright. And in case you think, why would you use that? Well, really just in case you want something different. Alright, let's get the scale up. Let's also get the detail up. Of course, this will also be a lot based on your own... Actually, I'm gonna get this at 10. Based on your own data. And I'll get this to 0.85. I don't want it perfect, but I want it to be there. And also let's get a color ramp. I think everyone already knew we go for the color ramp. All right, so let's actually have something maybe like this, and you'll see exactly why. Let's also get a bump map. And yes, we do work a little bit strangely on this one, but I think you will figure out why in just a second. So let me get this color ramp duplicated right here and actually push it in again. And now we'll put the bomb in the actual principal BSDF. And now we have a lot of fake data that actually looks like, oh, there are, small bits that are getting out, but they're not really. We can put this to 0.5. And also now we can actually play with a color, with the values, right? We can do a little bit of a something like this. So the wall doesn't seem that dark, but basically it has a lot of what's it called? It has a lot of detail, basically. Okay, so if I have it like this, the principal BSDF will look something like this. And this, in my humble opinion, would look pretty much as one of those good stuff, right? Like, it looks good, it looks alright, it doesn't necessarily have to be more than this, if you ask me anyway. And also, I would suggest to actually get a spotlight in here. And the reason is, not a lot of light will actually hit the room in here. Get the spotlight a little more towards the wall, because I don't really want it to hit this much the actual stand here. I want it to hit the actual wall a little bit more. And we actually have to render this to actually see how this will affect us. So already, because of the strength of our neon sign, that will look, pretty intense, right? That will color the wall already quite a bit by itself, but we can actually use this light also. Sorry, let's increase the brightness, and now we can actually see the light hitting the wall. I just suggest blending this, so actually it will look way more natural. And also we can make this maybe a little like yellowish. Just increase a lot the light, and also let's increase the radius. And also the spot size could be increased as well, right? So now we will have something like this, which actually will make our scene look a little more interesting. Also, we could, play around maybe with a color. So it actually gives a very interesting vibe and a very interesting, coloring to our background already. But for now, we'll keep it something like this. Okay, that is actually pretty good. All right, that's already doing pretty fine. But I think we could do just a little more, right? We could actually try to add a little more geometry, try to add a little more objects that we actually can have in our background, so that we can make this more, more interesting, and actually have a little more layers again. First of all, what I do like a lot are posters, right? And posters are so easy to get. Why is that? Because image on planes exist. And image on planes are basically the one thing we wish to have when that happens, when we want something like this. And so just put an image on a plane. And actually, the images I will use are some images you probably are very familiar with already, which are right around here. And I guess it was pretty easy to see it coming, but I'm gonna actually use my train from the beginner tutorial, from the introduction. And actually, let's get to material to actually see it a little bit. So let me actually scale this. And this already looks okay, but actually let me pull this a little bit. Or not. I'm actually probably going to leave it like this. Just maybe rotate it a little bit, you know, something of the sort. Maybe scale it down a little. Something like this could work. Will we even see though? I mean, we probably would, if not for the roughness of the window. So actually, if I'm taking the roughness absolutely down, and also I can play with this as well. I can actually drag it back a little and actually point it way more towards the actual, you know, the actual wall, and increase a little bit the radius. Also make it a little bit, you know, better to see. Okay, I can actually also pull this up a little bit. And now we can see it. Now we can see our train. It's gonna be an Easter egg. It doesn't have to pull, you know, the punches. It doesn't have to pull the scene or anything. So it's cool the way it is. Let's actually put this to 0.5. And the spot size to actually 53.5 could do. And what else could I do? Maybe make this a little more contrasty. Because we need color, right? Like color is basically the main point of this scene. All right, so we have this, and actually I want maybe one more poster. But yeah, no. First, actually, let me do the actual what's it called? The actual thing I'm looking for. So what I am looking for is make like a little bit of a stand where we can actually put some figurines and some games and stuff to, you know, make it actually look like a place people would enter to maybe buy something. And it'll be more of a nerdy, you know, nerdy shop, right? Where we will have, first of all, Funko PoPs. And for those that don't know what those are, you are in for a treat. Because they are probably the coolest things ever. Or not, really. If you have a life, probably they're not the coolest things ever. But if you're like me, they're cool. They're pretty cool. Okay, so let's shade this mode after beveling it so that now it looks actually a little better. And now we can actually pull off some pretty cool thing, which is a cube. I wanna do something. Wait a second. So let's actually not a circle. Sorry. Let's actually pull a cube. G and Z and GB. Use this to actually move it. And now let's just we can actually use this vertex also to move the origin there. It will seem pretty stupid to have the origin there, but actually will help us a lot to actually make sure it's always on the actual support there. Okay, the origin to 3D cursor, and now we basically just scale it, and so the cube will always stay where we need it to stay, which honestly it's what I'm looking for. And yeah, you know what, I like it. So with this being done, let me actually just apply the scale for this one, and I'm going to probably apply a bevel to it. Very small bevel, but a bevel nonetheless. Okay, should do shaded smooth, and it should look pretty good. And actually, I'm going to make it even smaller than that. And make this actually 5. And now I'm going to just take this and Smart UV project it because it's just a cube. It's going to do it fairly easily. But the shading is actually the one we're looking for on this one, because I'm going to show you one of, if not the best way to shade. And here's the deal. And why I think this lesson is pretty important. If you don't know how to make materials, if you are not looking to actually make materials, but you still want to, not have to be dependent on buying materials all the time, to talk to people that actually do materials all the time and stuff like that, you can be super creative with one node. Well, you use a few more nodes, but one node in particular that you will have to use, and that is image texture. So image texture is the easiest to use, and if you stay to think about it, all our textures are images basically, which is why I'm trying to say, so actually let's call this Funko Pop 1. It's basically you put the image in and you will tell it how to work with our scene afterwards. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about in just a second. Okay, let me just pull the image textures in. And I'm actually, oh, I don't have them yet in my computer. Let me just do that real quick. All right, so I did get them already, and now I can actually jump right into it. So I'm actually just gonna go to wherever I saved them. So yes, that's another thing that's actually super useful with this. You don't have to worry about, this not being copyrighted or, not being safe to work with or whatever, because you can just take these pictures. So it doesn't matter. And as I said, for those people that don't know what Funko Pops are, these are the bloody things, right? Let me actually pull this right here. And let's actually take it with a UV unwrap. And actually, it will not look too good in the first instance. And the reason it won't really, it's because it's not actually working properly. We actually need to do a little bit of tweaking before we can actually play around with this one. So you can either make like a collage with these pictures, but honestly, I don't like the idea of it. Or we can actually just play with the sides of our actual, well, cubes. So this is the picture I have. So we do know where we need it to be. Right? We have the sides. All we gotta do really is, well, get it right. So first, I can actually make this a little larger. Actually, maybe even like this. Scale it. Smart TV project it one more time, because this time we actually want to have it, properly. And actually now we can just play around a little bit with our geometry here. And don't really worry too much about how this will go. So you can do this in two ways, really. You can also play with it from this point. But I mean, why would you? Like, if we can actually just set the texture just from here, let's just do it this way. It's good. And you will actually see that this is rotated the wrong way, and actually it looks super weird, right? So what we can do is rotate it. I think we need to rotate it by the probably X. Yes. So 180 to actually have it rotated properly. But this actually will not work too well for us, will it? Can actually just, well, let me see. Control A. Apply. No, so the rotation is not a problem. So actually, instead of doing this, so let's set X back to 0, because we'll change also the name and I don't want that. I'm going to actually just do this. Right, I'm going to inverse my mesh here. It might seem a little weird to actually work with a UV and wraps instead of to actually work with, like our actual geometry. But think about it the other way around. We basically play with our geometry to fit in the 2D picture. And you have to just play around with it to fit it as well as possible. Right, so really is kind of hard to explain this other than you just need to understand it. Is this one okay? So let me see. R180, and now okay, so this is the side I wanna have. Okay, so I'm actually gonna, you know, increase all of this. And now this actually looks pretty good because it's right here. It doesn't really matter if, you know, well, it doesn't really matter how you see it from the back here, because here's the deal. You won't really see it, right? So you will see that there's something there and it looks pretty awesome. And actually you can say that it gives character, and that's again the thing. That's how I would use image textures, at least in this way. So here's what I'm trying to say. You can use the image textures for like way better results, right? You can actually play around with them to make them super crisp textures. But the point is, you don't necessarily need to do that. If you do like a background, let's just fill the background with stuff so that it looks realistic, you don't need to do all that. So for example, usually what I would do is make a roughness map, make like for example, I can actually play with the roughness of this. So this one is actually, see, it's a little shinier, and actually if we get close to it, it does reflect light. So it reflects now light almost perfect. So actually if I make this 0.1, it does reflect it somewhat. Now, it's not perfect or whatever, but it reflects it, which is a little more realistic. But again, from the background, from the you know, the window, you won't see all that, right? You don't need to worry about it. And really, this is the most we need. However, I'm going to show you a little more on this the same object here, right? We can actually take this face right here and go to materials, assign it to a different material, and actually we will be able to just take this face and put it on, and that is kind of it. Let me assign. I'm gonna make a new material, and of course in this new material I can get, you know, the images, image texture, camera here, I think it was this side, and basically take this geometry and just, you know, put it over so that it just fits right there. And that will look good. Of course, this is still not, let me change this. So this will actually look, oh, I changed the same, sorry for that. Let's go here. Okay, so this will actually now look almost impeccable. And now I'm actually curious if this mix shader will work, because now that I stay to think about it, it might not. Yeah, it's mixing them together. The way it will work, it's actually if we are going to make a mask, basically tell it this face will have this texture, this face will have the other texture, and that way it will work definitely. And the advantage to have that is that you will have one material. However, if you do ask me, it's a lot of work for no reason. So basically, I'm just gonna leave it like this because I think it looks really good. I'm gonna make this side as well. So actually, I'm going to take it, assign a new material. So actually, I'm going to call this Funko PoP2. And let me, I was trying to name nothing. And I should name this actually 3. My bad. All right. And now this basically probably you realize it's gonna be the image texture. We open, we take the left side. Well, not the left side, but you got it. You know what I'm talking about. So just not this, but the second one, like this, and this over. And drag the vertices so they actually, work pretty well together. And wait, what? I did not assign it, did I? Or what did I do? Yeah, no, I did not assign it yet. So now it actually works pretty fine, and it's pretty cool. Again, it doesn't really matter because from here we actually will look at it and not really see too much. But actually, if I'm going to, rotate it a little bit, you can actually let me actually see it like this because it's a little confusing. You will see the sides, which is pretty cool. Right, like you would still see what's basically in the box without actually seeing what's in the box. I think that's pretty awesome. And again, super easy way to get some textures, some background textures in there. Let's actually use the same material, basically the same wood I used on the counter. Was it this one? Yeah, we'll use that one. On the counter here. So I'm basically going to have this and have a little more of the Funko Pops. I'm gonna do this and actually come back right away. By the way, before I continue, one small disclaimer. Basically, this method I showed you, it's not an let's call it appropriate way. Like if you do this. This is not perfect because there are a few mistakes if you do this. Again, it's just to get easy background objects. This is not working properly, okay? But if you want to save time, and I think, when you want to make some big projects, you will need to have parts where you have to save time so that you actually, concentrate on a more important aspects, like the, actual, let me get here, on the actual front of your scene, okay, not on the background stuff, but you still want to have quality there as well. So that's why I showed you this brings quality, but also you won't spend so much time on it, okay? So another thing that I wanted to tell you, what the problem is that if you actually select all of this, okay, what do we see here? The UV unwrapping is overlapping itself, which is a big, big, big problem. We don't want that almost never. In this case, it works because, again, we don't care. This can work in animations. This can work in games because, yes, you can have this. It's perfectly fine. But again, just as well as people cannot get close to these things, or as long as you don't need to interact basically in any other way with the object. At least that's my opinion. Again, don't jump on me. I don't think this is a good way. for your geometry, but it's a smart way to, you know, buy some time and actually still keep the quality up. At least this is what I think. I think this looks great no matter how you do, because nothing really beats the reality of an image. I don't think, like, yeah, you could probably achieve something similar, or not even similar, but close, with a lot of time spent on procedural textures, or spending money on, you know, some actual professionally made textures. But why do that when you can just take some images, put them on, and actually make this look almost exactly as they should? I think that's awesome. So yeah, that's the small disclaimer. I'm gonna go back to working on this and coming back to you guys. Okay, another little bit of stuff here. I just wanted to point out, look at this. Look at this small, it's a very small detail, but let me actually look from like this side, right? Would you say that this is not here? I mean, yeah, you can see that this is not a 3D and actually just a 2D picture on this. But if you look at like this, would you be able to say that this is not an actual box there? Because we do have this detail of the you know, opened box. And yeah, that just, I mean, look at that. That looks so real. That is so surreal. I think that's so good. Yeah, I definitely love it. I really doubted if this is a good idea or not. But looking at this was a great idea to put this in. I'm so happy I did that. Okay, going back. Sorry, I just needed to point out that again, image textures just have a really, in my opinion, underrated utility in you know, 3D scenes. If you know, you don't want to use them because you're actually, you know, trying to do animation or something else, I get it. But if you want to make just, you know, a small animation and this will be in the background, or just a 3D you know, image, like a scene, this is perfect. So yeah, going back to work. Okay, so really fast, this is the 3D scene, and this is a photo of my room where I have my games, or I have my PS4 games. So basically, this is what we were able to pull off just with images alone, and pretty fast. And the results honestly are pretty awesome. So even when you look at this is in material, by the way, okay? It looks amazing. Again, because you have realism, because already the things work properly, you don't really have to work that much on them. These images work properly, and when you look at it like this, you would say, oh yeah, those are games. That's actually there. The reason is because you do have this geometry, and basically that's all fake. It's just a plane. I just extruded the faces a little bit. That's basically it. And here, it's basically the same thing. And look how it looks when I render this. And that, my friend, is without lots of geometry, without struggling too much. And look at this realistic thing. And it's just an image texture. That's it. That's all I have for this. An image texture. And basically these are just more image textures for different sites. But that's basically it. And that is absolutely insane. So I do hope you like this, because I think it's an awesome way to do stuff. Also, by the way, one more little thing. If you want, because you might wonder why the camera's here. I actually have two cameras. One is here, one is here. To be able to select different cameras, like to watch through them, when you select the camera, press Ctrl-0, and you'll be able to actually look from the perspective of the camera you selected. Okay, I hope that did help you. And with this being said, I am going to close this right now. Okay, and this is the kind of result we can get with this method. Again, it's not a perfect method. It's not a method you want to use in like, you know, super high detail animation or whatever. unless it's background stuff. Because, and I'll be a little bit, not objective, very subjective to this, because I just love the look of it. It looks so realistic. Look at this. This is amazing. So let's break down a little bit of why this is so good. First, ignore the white dots. That's actually something we will look into in the next video. It's something we use for the overall thing of the neon sign. This is basically something I did afterwards, but then I realized it's actually better to show it to you first and then move on to the next part. But first, here's the deal. We have this incredible, and I mean incredible, piece of realism. And, again, I don't really mean to brag about this, but I think this looks so realistic. Like every single part of it looks like it's an absolute realistic thing. And the thing about it is I actually sent a picture to my friends with this, and I tricked them into thinking this is actually in my house. So that's how you know for sure this actually worked properly. Now, the reason this works so well, it's because it is real. We just use real images to put in. And here's what sells this image so well and why I think this is so important to understand. What works is the reflections that we see in the plastic from these boxes. It's something you can't, you can actually get in 3D as well, but you need to make roughness masks, which we can do. I did teach you how to do in the beginner tutorial. I think you should look it out if you don't remember that, or if you never watched it. But basically you just paint out where the roughness should be 0 or 1 or an in between, and you can basically make an object be either reflective in some parts and non-reflective in other parts. But basically this is a little better because it's I think I did talk about stuff like this in the AI video. Reflections that are deformed are pretty hard to get. Usually even engines like Cycle, they don't get it extremely right? Having this image have the reflection in, you don't have to mind that. So besides the fact there's no computation behind, so your scene will be rendered faster and will be rendered at all, if you don't have such a beefy machine. This by itself is an amazing detail because it kind of creates more volume both for your object that you look at and for the object in the back, because it makes it seem like the room has way more things inside, but it's actually just, there's actually not too much behind this. Also, if you look at the PS4 games here, what makes them actually sell so well is actually two things. The reflection in the actual furniture here, and that's 100% Blender's doing, right? Because of Cycle's, computation with reflections, we can have this detail, and also because of really good materials that, we get from, like, this is from Polygon, so yeah. Super nice to have this. Now, another thing that sells out is the geometry, right? Don't let them all be like on one side, basically, like all of them to be at the same level, because they never really are. And this kind of creates that kind of randomness that basically, kind of makes our world be our world, because nothing really is perfect. There's always a little bit of randomness into everything, and this is one of those things, and it makes it look way more natural because of it. That's one. Secondly, don't overdo the the extrusions, right? So basically this whole thing is just, if I get this out, it's just a small plane with a few extrusions here and there, but don't overdo it, all right? Don't make it Don't make the extrusions, you know, too different. So look how good this looks. No matter where you look at it from, this just looks perfect. Absolutely fucking fantastic. It's amazing. But yeah, don't overdo it. The reason you don't want to, you don't have the whole case. Now, we could have done the whole case with the same method. We did actually the Funko Pops. But we, you know, don't have that here. I didn't want to, you know, waste that much time. And I basically did just this. And this way it works perfectly fine for this. And actually, we can actually improve this a little more by applying the scale and actually adding a little bevel. Adding the bevel. And then like, I don't know, like 2 millimeters, something super, super small. But enough to basically make the corners, you know, be a little rounded. But yeah, this will add a little more realism to the scene. But even without that, as we can see here in the result, this still looks absolutely amazing. Also, the wall worked pretty well. I can't believe that noise did so much work. It's a noise and a bomb. That's basically it, but it worked perfectly fine. And yeah, now let's talk about the downfalls of this method. So we did talk about the, you know, geometry overlapping in the unwrap, which we don't want to do. In general, it works only for this one. But let's talk about the downfalls this has, even here, right? For a static image. First things first, Sasuke here is actually a little bit of a downfall in our case. And I don't like to say it because he's my favorite character. But look at like how Naruto and Itachi look. They look like they're actually there. They look like they're 3D models that I put in a case and stuff. But it's not. But the reason they look like this is because they're more or less facing the camera. So they're adding that kind of, you know, depth to them. While Sasuke, because it's rotated, you know, it's kind of giving the vibe this is just a picture. It doesn't really have that depth to him. All right? So actually, if I will take this and rotate it a little, well, not too much apparently. If I rotate him like this, actually he will look much better because it will create that depth for him as well. But yeah, I kind of wanted to show, you know, the sides a little bit as well. What helps though is the fact that we see the box in its entirety here. And we also see the contact shadows and stuff. And that kind of gives the depth that, you know, kind of this picture here is missing. And we can notice. A second downfall is actually coming from Naruto, and is the fact that we can kind of see the side, and we should not be able to see this. All right, it's sorry, I tried to move the picture. It's fine to be able to see like this side. Like again, this looks like it's here. All right, this looks like, oh, I'm watching, you know, the actual object. I just rotated the box, but it's not. You can actually see this. You should not be able to see this. Okay, I think everyone realizes that it's working perfectly from this side. Then when Naruto works perfectly when we actually look at him from here, but doesn't work when we actually see both the front and the side like that, because it breaks the immersion. Same for Sasuke as well. Another thing that I did mention helps a lot are these imperfections that you can get in 3D, but let's be honest, it's so much work, no one really does it. But it's, I mean, look at how realistic this looks. And yeah, I mean, just that alone gives it so much realism to it. It looks like it's a box, like an open box. And that to me is fantastic. So yeah, another thing that actually kind of breaks the immersion a little bit is this right here. So these, when I took the picture, you can actually see some reflections here that are not supposed to be able to be seen. So those will stick. That's a downfall that image texture will have. You cannot control it 100% like you could at, you know, procedural texture. But other than that, I think it looks great, and I think it's just unbelievably useful. So yeah. I think we'll do just a little more details and then end this. and go to the next part. So let's get to do that. Alright, so this is kind of it for this video. This is the end result, kind of. We will do a little more in the next episode. Actually, in the next part, we'll continue just a little more, adding just a few extra details for, you know, the sake of it. But mostly, this is at least the method. You can play around with it as much as you want, and you can use it in basically any kind of project you want. And again, it's basically good from any point of view, because you can take pictures of anything you want, really. I mean, don't think it of brands, but you kind of got a point. And really, then you can just put them in, use them as textures, and they will work perfectly with more or less any environment. Again, as long as you don't interact with them in your either video or game. So, with this being said, I wanted just to tell you that this was a really, really good, in my opinion, point to kind of get a grasp on a really, really basic way of texturing, all right? Because a lot of people like to complicate themselves with like a lot of stuff. Yes, you can add color correction. Yes, you can add this and that. But at the end of the day, as long as you can actually put something that actually looks good, actually makes sense, and it adds a lot of character to your scene, and also it doesn't take a lot of time, why not do it? I think it's good. I think it's doing the right job. And at the end of the day, the result we get, as you can see, it's actually pretty good for the amount of work. And again, for the role it plays in our scene, this is more than enough. So in my opinion, that's actually pretty good. All right, so I don't want to drag this even longer, so please, if you stuck around till the end of this video, I thank you so much. If you didn't, that's fine, I thank you as well. Also, if you are here or if you're not, I don't think you'll hear it if you're not, but even so, please subscribe to the video if you stuck around, and also give a like, because at the end of the day, I mean, you stayed all the way till here, you might just as well click that, alright? It's just like the common sense to do. Alright, so see you in the next video, and I hope you have a great day and a great week. And also, just a big disclaimer here, actually. Later today, we'll actually get one more bonus video, which is actually an announcement for the procedural fans. So yes, you get 2 videos in one day. Because, I don't know, I just wanted to. Okay, okay, bye.